shot these like talking head videos like last year.
Yeah.
And we sit down in this like gazebo in this backyard.
Okay.
All set, ready to go. This guy's like really busy guy, right? So it's
Okay.
like half hour with him maybe. And these guys started fucking cutting trees down like
Next door.
And like the owner of the company who like hired me is like, we have to do it now. I'm like, okay. They're like, there's nothing I can do about this after.
No.
They're like, there's
Just chainsaws going
yeah,
off.
like on and off the whole time. Like it's gonna sound horrible, but I'm like, if that's what you want.
Did it work?
No, it sounded like crap.
Oh, okay.
I had to like completely like punch in this background audio soundtrack to like muffle it out. It was
just subtitles.
And I'm horrible with audio. Like that's not my thing. So
Yeah,
it was fun.
That's all good. Hey man, the client gets what they want,
Exactly.
even if it's absolutely ridiculous, right? Well, Nick, welcome to the Creatives.
Yeah, man. Thanks for having me.
Thank you for being here. Thank you for allowing us to shoot in your space. This is Midnight Hour Studios.
Yeah.
Right. This is a physical, incarnation of your creative efforts and your work and all the work you've put in to your career, and it's materialized into a studio, and that's awesome. So thanks for giving me your time to be on this podcast, and thanks for letting us use the space.
Yeah, absolutely. My pleasure.
Yeah, man. So welcome to the Creatives, everybody. We're back with another episode here today with Mr. Nick. Nick is a very talented photographer, and we're gonna get all into some of the work that he does, which is really, really cool stuff. But before we get in there, I just want to talk. I'll tell you a little bit about the podcast. So it's called TheCreatives. It's a project. I wanted to kind of develop a community as a little bit of a side hustle to the video production work that I do on a full-time basis. So I wanted a place where creativity can be just kind of nurtured and explored with like no bounds, no limits, and kind of see how people who embody it in the forefront of their efforts, how they go about things. What do you struggle with? What do you excel with? And how did you get here? And how do you make a living off it? So that's kind of the motivations behind doing this podcast. And also the fact that like long format conversations are kind of dying, in my opinion, or in my life at least. I don't have many people that I have long format conversations with.
You're talking like in person?
Just in person, yeah.
Okay, yeah.
Where you interact with someone and you sit down for a conversation for like an hour.
Yeah.
That's kind of falling apart because everything happens so quickly.
Yeah.
So I wanted to get into these long format conversations and explore them, not only for myself, but for the people listening. So I'm excited to be chatting with you today, Nick. So, yeah, we'll get right into it. Nick, I understand your main focus is food photography. You've shot for brands like Tim Hortons, Quaker, Skip the Dishes, really, really cool stuff. Really, really big like household brands. So that's what I've seen from the outside. So can you tell us kind of your origin story? Like how did you get here to this point?
Sure. This could last a while, but
yeah, that's okay, man.
Yeah.
I'm here to explore.
Might blast over that hour with this one question. So I got to think back, like when I started doing creative work.
Mm-hmm.
Like, when I was a kid, I would like draw stories, and
Okay.
I was like eavesdropping on your last conversation. I was like laughing
Yeah.
that off. It was very similar in terms of like just making stories for your family, always wanting to like kind of direct and be the person behind everything happening.
Okay.
When I got to high school, I like I downloaded Photoshop, like a hacked version of it,
Nice.
along with some other software because I had no money. Yeah, everyone did this, right? I used to even like
Pirate Bay.
yeah, I'd share it with my buddies and stuff. So I had a friend, Sagar, who I'll get into later.
Sagar Chopra?
No.
Okay, I know.
Vashishta.
Okay.
Yeah.
And
he was a younger brother of one of my friends.
okay.
Went over to his house and he was like designing this like Matthew Good Band like poster. And I was like, he's like 3 years younger than me, I think at the time.
Okay.
I'm like, what are you doing? What are you doing that in? He's like, he's in Photoshop and he's got this like awesome, graphic design. I'm like, I want to do this, So I started like chatting with him over, I think it was like MSN Messenger at the time or something like that. And I downloaded Photoshop and started making horrible graphics, just like complete pieces of crap. If he's watching this, the first one ever was called Clocks. He'll die if he ever listens to this.
Still have it?
No, I have no idea where it is.
It's lost inside of a Windows
They all
98.
died in like a, they're all burned on a CD somewhere that I have
Never to be
It
seen.
might be somewhere in my parents' basement, but
Yeah.
I've looked. I can't find it.
Was it on like an old PC, like big
Yeah.
screen that's like big cube screen
exactly.
monitors.
Yeah.
Times.
Anyways, so I got into making graphics and websites for my friends.
Yeah.
Like in high school.
Wow.
Not getting paid for it at all. They weren't very good, but they were, you know,
You were doing
they did the job, right?
Not a popular like thing to be doing.
Yeah, like
Was it?
I'd go home and instead of doing my homework, I'd like work on something like that, right?
Nice.
So I was like,
Okay.
you know, getting like 55s in half my classes because I was
Yeah.
putting the bare minimum effort in,
Yeah, just-
staying up all night, coming in late all the time because I was just like obsessed with creating these, you know,
Yeah.
websites and graphics for friends and stuff like that.
Okay.
So, that, you know, that's kind of funny because like back then, like it was, you know, my parents kind of let me do it, but they're, you know, they're a little concerned, I think,
Mhm.
you know, and it took like years and years for that to materialize into an actual career. Like wait till I get into it. I didn't even do anything like super creative until like I was like 25, 26. So
Nice. Was it always in the back of your head though, or were you doing
Yeah.
it for like fun on the side?
yeah, I
or-
like kind of always freelanced a little bit.
Mhm.
Would like make little bits of money on the side. So,
Nice.
so yeah, I did this in high school for years. And then I tried to go to Ottawa U for a semester. Couldn't stand being in a classroom.
Yeah.
That failed. I tried to go to Algonquin for multimedia design. Spent one semester there. That didn't work out very well either.
Yeah.
The only two classes I liked were like photography and video.
Nice.
Yeah, which is kind of funny. It's like massive foreshadowing for like 10
Yeah.
years down the road,
That's a
right?
good indicator.
Yeah. Where are we going with this?
So you went, yeah. So you were making the websites, you were doing the graphic design, and then once you finished high school, you tried the university stuff. But then, what did you do in between the high school and
So-
25, where you started actually
so-
doing photo,
Yeah. Me and my buddy started a painting company.
like house painting?
Yeah.
Okay.
So like I think it was like we were 20 years old.
Okay.
And we started a painting company. So I'm
Nice.
sitting there. I'm like, I've got the design skills.
Yeah.
I can like brand a company. At this point, I'm okay at it. Like not great, but like professional looking stuff.
Yeah.
Nothing blowing anyone's minds.
No.
So we built a website, branded this company,
Yeah.
and started advertising it. And I think in the second year, we started getting tons of jobs. We weren't even good painters, but he was a great salesman. Like he's in sales now. That's his career.
Yeah.
And I made the website look professional. And like this is early days of Google AdWords when no one was using them, and we were
They're super
spending
effective.
like 20 cents a click and getting, you know, a couple $1,000 paint jobs.
Oh my
you know.
goodness.
And after like a year or two, I realized like his favorite part was selling.
Mm-hmm.
My favorite part was like the advertising side of it, right?
Yeah.
Like convincing someone to spend money on us through design and, you know, creative concepts and things like that.
Yeah.
So, it was kind of funny because we both went off and branched off into these, you know, kind of worlds.
Into
after
that realm. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's cool, man.
Then I started freelancing after that. For
What were
a while.
you shooting? Like, what kind of stuff were you?
I wasn't doing like no photography.
Oh, you weren't doing photography?
No, I didn't start photography till I was like 28.
What were you doing?
Just graphic design.
Really? So
Yeah,
like for
and-
brands and stuff?
Yeah, so I do like logo,
Okay.
small branding projects, a lot of front end web.
Wow.
And the photography sort of started as I'll buy a camera so I can take stock images for my designs,
Okay.
thinking it's easy. You know, I'll just grab an SLR and like this will be a joke. I'll be able to take these photos.
Mm-hmm.
That's when I realized it was a little more to it.
It's more than just taking photos.
Yeah. I gotta think back. So like I had a job at Le Cordon Bleu. This is the last job I ever worked.
Like not as a photographer.
Not as a photographer. So I was a
Okay.
multimedia designer.
Wow.
At that point, I had done a little bit of photography, mostly
That's a
like
foreshadow for sure.
Yeah.
Another one.
yeah, exactly.
Working around food. And
Yeah, this is where it comes from. Right?
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I'd done like a couple like electronic shows
Okay.
in the city, like maybe paid $100 to, you know, shoot a show for 4 hours or something like that.
Oh, like electronic music.
Yeah, like
Okay.
EDM.
Yeah.
And while I was working there, and then I started kind of building that portfolio up while I had this day job.
Yeah.
At the same time, while I worked there, I started shooting food a little bit. So they developed cookbooks
Wow.
at Le Cordon Bleu, the publishing department. Because I was like a multimedia designer, I was the only one there. I kind of worked for every department.
Yeah.
So I had projects going with like the web team, publishing team, the restaurants, which is kind of cool. But I definitely just kind of like focused in on the photography side of things.
And Cordon Bleu, that's a cooking school, right? Or
Yeah.
culinary school?
Yeah, it's a culinary school
Okay.
from France.
Yeah.
So they you know, it was a cool opportunity. The hardest part of shooting food is having to make it.
Mm-hmm.
You know, so if someone else can make it and can make it look good for you,
Yeah.
you know, that's half the battle. So I worked with them on basically they did an entire book while I was there, and
Yeah.
I did all the recipe testing with them. So I shot every single recipe before they actually hired the real photographer to come in and
Really?
shoot the book. But from like recipe 1 to 100, I started to learn little nuances of food photography. My publishing manager was like pretty, you know, she knew what she wanted and what looked good, so she just like ripped apart my photos in a nice way.
That's
for
probably
like
what helped,
2
though,
months.
right?
Oh, it
That
helped
helped
so
you grow.
much. Shout out Sherry.
Hi, Sherry.
Yeah, kind of after that, I was, you know, the contract ended there. I was there for a year, and then I, you know, jumped into photography full time.
Yeah.
I'd never planned on doing it too. Probably even a year and a half earlier, I still didn't think that's, you know, what I would be doing.
And you, how long has it been now?
11 years.
Wow.
Yeah.
But did you learn also after you did those like preliminary shots of the 100 recipes? Did you also like shadow the photographer that came in and learn from them?
I assisted her the entire time too,
Yeah.
which was really cool.
Wow.
That's the only time I've assisted too, which is like wild.
And
Because
then you-
after that, I just did my own thing, right? So
Yeah. So this is around like age of 25. You started just going into it full time.
I was older, so
You were
like
older?
yeah, I was 28, I think.
Okay.
At that point, yeah.
And you just went 2 feet in, started branding yourself, I guess.
Yeah, so I didn't have a job when my contract ended.
Okay.
So I started looking for another multimedia job, but then started getting hired for photography gigs because I'd built like a decent portfolio. I was at that stage where you've got everything in your portfolio still, right?
Okay.
You have like food, weddings, electronic shows, like product photography. Like you're spreading yourself thin because you don't know what you want to like focus in on yet, right? You don't have a niche
Yeah.
at that point.
So
So
you got like funnel down, try
Yeah.
a bunch of stuff, and then
yeah,
narrow in. So food is what stuck.
yeah. Honestly, it's what people paid me the most to do.
Okay.
And I feel like I was the best at it. I know now why I enjoy it so much, but back then I didn't really understand it.
Yeah.
When it comes down to it now, all the food shots we do are you're building a set and a mood and an atmosphere, right? From scratch. You got nothing. You got to create this, you know, image, and you got to make people hungry, but you also got to make them feel, you know, good or whatever, make them feel whatever the client wants them to feel about the image.
Okay.
And that's like really bringing in like surfaces, backgrounds, specific lighting. And I kind of consider them all like layers in Photoshop. When I used to design, you have a layer for everything and you can move them all around. So yeah, I
So
think that like skill really, like that design layout skill really
Yeah.
translated into photography.
That's cool. So
Yeah.
then you have like physical layers when you're building a set
Yeah.
of like backdrops, props, and then the food itself, and then
Yeah.
then you layer images, right? You build an image of, you take multiple shots and you layer them
We kind of build up from scratch.
from scratch.
Yeah. So, you know, you've got a food stylist working with you.
Food stylist.
Yeah.
That's really cool.
Unless it's like a really basic, if it's like baked goods or something, you're
Yeah.
probably okay. But
That's awesome.
yeah, so you work with the food stylist to be off like making the actual like hero food.
Okay.
You'll get like a stand-in of like a burger that looks horrible. You never want the stand-in.
Just to light it.
Yeah, you don't want it to look good because you don't want the client to be like attached to it. So you make it really bad on purpose.
No way.
Yeah, because you'll like show the client like this is our set. You know, this is the burger, but this is the bad one. Like
Yeah.
I used to put my like wallet in the middle as a patty. You know what I mean? Just like make it look absolutely crappy so that in contrast, you know,
So it's like
the real one looks
whoa,
really
like,
good.
That's a cool burger.
Yeah.
I've heard, like, I've seen some stuff like for food photography and commercials, like they use like really weird materials to like simulate, like for example, like frozen ice cream would melt
Yeah.
on a set.
Yeah.
Or would you use like glue and stuff to like make the perfect burger?
Burgers usually are like lots of pins.
Pins, okay.
Holding it together. There's like little layers of cardboard to like create gaps in between each layer.
Okay.
Ice cream, only if ice cream isn't the product. If it's
Okay.
the product, you can't be making like a fake.
Yeah,
if
like
you're
mashed
selling-
potatoes or something.
What is it made out of? Sometimes mashed potatoes, like shortening, I think. It's a combination of stuff. I
Yeah.
don't even. Depends on the type of look to
Mm-hmm.
the ice cream. But like you can't fake the actual product. Like if you're selling ice cream, you can't be.
What about cheese? Like those like classic cheese pulls on.
Oh,
like,
the food stylist just like preps them.
They're actual
Like,
chefs, right?
lo-
These food stylists.
Yeah,
are-
so they're almost all culinary trained.
okay, they
and
have to be, right? I
Yeah,
guess.
and then they veer off into food styling somehow. There's
Sounds
not very
fun.
many in the country really. They're
Yeah.
mostly in Toronto too.
Yeah. So there's a not a need. Do you find like there's a need for food stylists, or
I don't know. It's tough to say.
yeah?
Yeah.
And I'm sure you have a few key ones that you work
Yeah.
with regularly. Do you
Yeah.
have ones that specialize in different types of food, or they're just kind of good at all?
They kind of all have their own styles, just like photographers or directors would, right?
Yeah.
So some are like more editorial, some are more clean, but like the way they like to style the food. Some are more whimsical with it. So depending on the projects too, you'll suggest a specific food stylist for that brand, right? Because you got to understand the brand, and these brands are really specific about like how their food's presented. You know, crumbs, no crumbs. Like we don't allow the bun to be tilted. Like very, very detailed. You'll get like a giant deck of this stuff, or you'll learn it while you're on set with them, or how to like style fries properly, how they like their fries to look versus another client, like how crispy they are, the color of them, the way they sit together. You know, if they're like sitting like this or flat or.
That's incredible.
So yeah, so you'll pick a food stylist who like kind of meets those requirements. Then it's your job to like ensure that that actually happens on set. So.
Yeah. So you're also you're handling the camera, but you're also directing. The whole shoot, right? Of the stylist and your assistants and however you're doing it.
And we'll have on larger shoots we'll have prop stylists too.
Okay.
For like smaller shoots, I love styling, and like I have like in the back here we've got surfaces, all kinds of like prop glasses, bowls, everything. But when the shoot gets big, you're talking like a 5-day shoot, I don't have time to source all that stuff. So they'll bring in a prop stylist too. Yeah. So they'll be given the creative deck and they'll source everything off that. So you'll walk into a studio, there's like 8 tables just full of like vessels for food. Yeah. Plates, bowls, cups, linens, 20 surfaces lined up against the wall.
Do you ever eat the food?
Occasionally, not off set. You don't touch the food on set.
No. Do you get? I can imagine like you. It might make you a little bit hungry when you're shooting. Like if you come on with a empty stomach and you've got this delicious food that smells good, like, or have you gotten used to that?
You get used to it. We don't even like our catered lunches aren't whatever we're shooting ever too. It's always something completely different.
That's funny.
Yeah, we had one person eat. I won't say who it was, but we had like.
They ate the food.
Yeah, it was like the head guy, like on set. Like
okay.
He was like the from the company. I'm not going to say anything in terms of like who he was. What his position was. But we like lined up these like shots of all these like nuts on set, and they were like perfect. And we had to like focus stack the image, 6 shots. So we got the shot, everyone approved it, and he like walked over and just grabbed one off set. And me and the food stylist just look at each other like, oh my god.
And he ate it?
He just ate it, yeah.
Oh my god.
I'm like, I was gonna focus stack that. The whole thing like collapsed, right? It was like a pile of almonds or something. So
crap.
It was pretty funny. So we'd reset and shot it again.
Yeah. That would be very tempting.
Yeah. And you couldn't say anything.
Especially if you're like,
he's the one who proves us working for them. I just kind of laughed it off.
Yeah, you're like, spend an hour stacking these almonds again. That's funny. So, Nick, I saw an interesting quote that you had on your bio there. It said, "People eat first with their eyes."
Yeah.
And I found that an interesting quote because I used to work in a kitchen. I was a line cook, for about 6 years of my life. And my boss at the time was a perfectionist and a hard ass, and food wasn't allowed to leave the kitchen if it didn't look presentable or good. And he would say 90% of the food is how it looks. It's that first impression. What does the plate look like? And can you elaborate on what that quote means to you, how the people eat first with their eyes?
I think it was just me trying to market myself to clients. I came up with that a long time ago. That's been on like
honesty.
2 or 3 like iterations of the website.
Okay.
It's funny you bring it up though. Like I'll have clients mention it in emails to me. Like I love that quote on your website. I'm like, it's really working. Like it's
a good one.
Yeah.
It's something because most people see a menu but they're just thinking about eating. They're like, oh, this is cool. This is what the food looks like, whether it's fast food or whether it's like a takeout menu or ad or whatever. But you technically you're more enticed to eat that item if it's presented beautifully.
I think everyone's bought food based on either the photo on the packaging or on the menu, whether it's a menu board at like a fast food chain or you're at like a Boston Pizza or something like that. You just like look at this one image, like that's it. Like I'm hungry. That's what I want, right?
I'm gonna eat this one.
Versus imagining what it looks like, right? So
yeah, because you can only describe it so much. But
and if we do our job on set, like every image should do that.
That's cool.
In some capacity or another. Yeah, hopefully.
No, it's cool, and if I'll drop Nick's website in the description so you can check out some of the images that he's done. They're really cool, man. Like You have some awesome stuff for, you had like this burger, you put like a behind the scenes of the burger exploding or something with like cheese inside the patty.
Yeah.
Awesome. And like even the Tim Hortons, like you've done like Tim Hortons drinks and sandwiches and.
Yeah, we did their menu board like in 2016. That was the first big job I ever did.
Yeah, that must have been like, holy crap.
I'll tell a good story of that. This is like
slightly
embarrassing, but fun at the same time.
Yeah.
I've told like friends and like family this. It was on like day 3 and I'm feeling like pretty stressed out. I don't get too stressed out on photo shoots, but this is like a big one, right?
Because it's Tim Hortons, man.
Yeah,
like, this is like
my biggest client, and it's going okay, but it's like you've got agency, you've got the client, you've got me with my team of I think it was like 8 or 9 people working.
Wow, that's a big team.
Yeah, you have like a food stylist and then 2 assistant food stylists, 2 assistants. We were running 2 sets too.
Okay.
So there's a lot going on. And like even for me, I was like, this is crazy. Like I've never done anything on this scale.
Yeah.
And I had actually Joey, who works back here.
Yeah.
You've had on the podcast. Joseph.
Yeah, Joey.
Yeah,
from episode 1.
He was assisting me. I brought like my friends.
Yeah.
Because I'm like, I need like, crew.
That's all you
around,
knew at
right?
the time, right?
Yeah.
You just had friends.
I had like a good assistant in Toronto, Neve, who's an amazing photographer. My food stylist team was sweet. But yeah, I brought him to like hang out on set and kind of be the cool guy on set.
It's a good guy to have.
So
a cool guy.
Me and him and like a couple other people were staying at an Airbnb because the shoot was in Toronto.
Yeah.
For like 2 weeks. Anyways, I got up on I think it was day 3 or 4, just like feeling like crap and just like stress puked at like 6:30 in the morning.
Oh my goodness.
And then just like, all right, get the fuck up, shower, let's go again.
Yeah,
and
then it's game time.
And it got smoother as the shoot went on. It was just like a rough start, but I don't think I'd realized like how to handle clients and the logistics of shoots. We could shoot great images at that time, but there was like really, managing a shoot and managing a client was like, this was like a whole new level. I'd never done something like that and definitely could have used like, an experienced producer or something like that. I had a producer who helped me out. He was really good, but neither of us had done a shoot like this. So yeah. It was trial by fire. Or was it fire by trial? Whatever.
Yeah. That's big time. Just thrown into the pit and just go for it.
And I've done other jobs at that point for like larger clients, but they were smaller shoots, smaller teams. After we finished that though, I felt a little more confident.
Yeah, I'm sure that made you feel you gain that experience. It's challenging to manage your own crew, manage a client, manage the shoot itself.
Yeah,
and then also like just do the shots themselves.
Yeah.
Have you kind of stepped into more of a role where you let your assistants take care of the small stuff or the and you just focus on the shooting, or do you still like to kind of play with everything?
Yeah, I'm pretty hands-on. On the sets, I'm hands-on.
Okay.
I find it annoying to be like, let's move that glass like half an inch. I know exactly how much to move it.
Yeah.
I'm not doing anything else. I'll walk over and just move it around.
Move it.
But when it comes to like setting up the set, things like that, like setting up the lighting, I'll just kind of draw out a diagram, or the assistants I work with generally know how we're going to like base set up a lighting setup, and then we'll tweak it from there.
Okay.
So, that's the type of stuff I sort of let other people do their thing. So
that's cool, man.
Yeah.
So can you walk me through like creative process? If I say, Nick, I have this, coffee that I want to sell. Like, what is your process?
Well, how much money do you have?
It depends. But, okay. So let's say unlimited budget or whatever. And I have a product. Like, how do you go about taking this product from, this is just a bag of coffee, to this is a freaking cool coffee thing and I want it in my house? Like,
it depends on like the type of client. There's client direct, and I heard this is funny. I listened to like all of this on the last episode.
It's funny. For those of you listening, we shot the previous episode right before this, and Nick was listening to it.
So if you're working client direct, you have like more creative control on a shoot. If you're working agency, they've usually prepped most of it. You're there to like take their vision, sprinkle your special ingredients on it, and go from there. Sometimes I'll let you push it a little bit more. So it really depends. If it's client direct, I'll have a conversation with them. Let's have a creative conversation. If they're in the city, honestly, I'd rather sit in person. It's more fun.
Yeah. You just ask questions, right?
Yeah.
You get to know what and why they.
Yeah. What do you guys want to do? What message you want to get across? How crazy do you want to go with it? Are you trying to fit this mold, or can we like really go crazy and try something that might like be 50 and 20% chance of working out, but if it does, it's amazing. If it doesn't, we'll have a backup plan. And yeah,
that's really cool. So then you take all that information and you start to prep like your props and your like the scene, right? Because there's some really cool like surfaces and textures that you put in these images.
Yeah.
I know you can get crazy with things flying and, like,
Yeah. Usually there's like either one like kind of reference image we'll see or two that sort of like set the tone. Like that's the vibe.
Okay.
Those are the colors or it's hard to describe specifically until once you get into it. I had, it's like a local client, Holy Confections.
Okay.
They make like those croissant donuts.
The layered ones?
Yeah. So we did some like stuff for them and they came
Yeah.
in and hung out here. We had no idea. I've been like messaging them for a couple of weeks trying to figure out the style.
Okay.
And within like 10 minutes of just chatting with them, we'd like figured it out. Like this creative concept brainstorm just like exploded. It was all off this like little, they had this little like kind of bear who had like a donut on his eye and he was like, and like a crown. And like all of a sudden it came to me and like them too, right? We're like, we're going to make it like, get all these like crazy like gold and silver platters, but like spray paint some of them pink and kind of go,
That's cool.
And it was all based off that little like design that they had gotten from a graphic designer. So
That's
like,
awesome.
yeah. So it's crazy. It comes out of nowhere sometimes.
So you kind of get to know them and then I guess the amount of creative freedom will, dictate how crazy you get.
Yeah.
And then like you said, you have a bunch of like surfaces and like props that you've gathered over time. Like, are you just, if you're like out shopping and, you're just doing your regular, non-work stuff and you see stuff, you're like, do you pick stuff up like, oh, this would be cool as a prop in a shoot? Like,
Yeah. It's like very expensive hobby.
it is. Do you go like antique shops and stuff?
Yeah. Yeah. We'll go to antique shops or little like,
Yeah.
it's,
I love antique shops.
yeah,
Man.
it's the
They're
best.
so cool.
It's
It's
the
just
best.
time machines.
the further you
stuff.
get out of the city, the
They get
cheaper
better?
they get. There's
Cheaper,
more stuff
okay.
and they're more affordable. So
Yeah.
yeah, it's tough to like, cause you'll see something, you're like, I want to buy that. I don't know why. It's just cool. It's different.
It's like speaks to you almost.
Yeah.
Because I feel like there's like an energy in this stuff. Like it's been around for years and passed
Yeah.
through hands and yeah. That's
And sometimes you'll see something like I have like, a handful of clients I work with all the time, and I'm like, that's perfect for them. So I'm like, I'm just gonna buy it.
yeah, why not?
We'll fit it into the next shoot or something.
Yeah.
Somehow, yeah. If I could just do that all day, I think
Just
maybe,
go
maybe I should be
antiquing?
a prop stylist.
Just go prop
photographer.
photographer. Go antiquing, yeah. I'll have to explore those out of city antique shops. I've
Yeah.
been to a couple in the city. I actually found like a vintage Canon lens for like $60 there once. It's cool. It's in mint shape.
Did you buy it?
Yeah, I bought it.
Perfect.
Yeah, it's awesome. I like
Right.
adapted to like my Blackmagic camera, and it's just like it's a what is it a 70 to 210 mil zoom or the zoom like it's like a
Like a push zoom?
yeah you push
Yeah.
zoom. It's crazy, but yeah, antique shops are cool for props.
Yeah.
So what is your favorite type of shoot to do then? Like, what is your favorite subject?
Like what type of food?
What type of food or product do you love to shoot the most?
I always feel like we love like burgers,
Yeah.
and sandwiches. I don't know if
Just
there's a
layers,
lot
eh?
in there. Yeah.
Okay,
Something fun about them, especially those like low hero angle
the burger.
like shots.
Yeah.
It's fun to create like a crazy atmosphere around them, right?
Okay.
Like there's one in the portfolio. It's like kind of pink in the background and like all
Yeah.
these colors. I shot that years ago, but I love that shot because it really feels like you're in some like dive bar underground, and this is perfect burger. It's on top of a piece of like newspaper. Shout out to Christina who styled that.
Yeah.
Like she killed it.
It just looks tasty.
And it's just like so cool. Like where the fuck is this place?
Yeah.
It's in a studio, It took us hours. That was a creative shot. I actually wanted to bring this up too. I'll like go off on a tangent. a
Yeah,
bit.
for sure. Do it.
So like early on, I still do this to this day, but like early on when I started, I did so many creatives, like half my portfolio. Like now it's like sectioned off. If you go to it, you click on it, you can see like a subsection, it's either a client or a type of food. It used to be just single images, and you'd scroll. And out of those first like 20 images, like 15 of them were creative projects.
When you say creative, you mean like you're not getting paid for this?
No client, just like me and a food stylist, and like we're gonna make some fun shit.
Just for
And
the
just
art,
to
right?
build our portfolio.
That's so
Because you don't. That's the only time you get to like play 100%, right?
Yeah.
There's no limits. There's no client, looking over your shoulder, which you want. I want them all the time, but like,
Yeah.
you need to like stretch your creative muscles, and that's the best way to do it. And then you populate your portfolio with this, and then sprinkle in client work
That's really
in
cool.
there. And that's what I did a lot early on. I still do it, but it helps so much because the clients can't tell the difference. They don't know if it was a
No.
client project or not, but they know you can do it.
Yeah,
And then
you-
they see that you've shot for a couple other, brands or names that, you're like the clients you've shot for are like your resume as a photographer, right?
Yeah.
Like here's the names of the companies. If you don't have any big companies, no one's going to hire you. You got to get lucky early on,
Yeah.
But to get lucky, you need someone to go to your website, and then you have to have really good work. So do tons of creatives. Don't just, shoot client projects only.
Yeah, because you get to stretch your legs and create without
Yeah.
limits almost.
And that's how you build a style too, right?
Yeah,
Like
that's awesome. That's a very important thing, I would say. That
yeah, and I still do it. Like for example, I'm working on. I told you I'd bring up Sagar later.
Yeah.
Me and him are working on a Japanese whiskey coffee table book, like a 250-page book that we're going to try and release hopefully next year, but like it might be 2 years.
With what sort of images?
It's just Japanese whiskey.
Oh, Japanese whiskey.
Yeah, so we've got shots of bottles.
Wow.
We're going to go to Japan
I love Japan.
in March. I've never been.
I went a couple of years ago.
Yeah, I'll have to
Loved
get
it.
some.
Yeah, I'll give you some pointers
stuff.
on the
Yeah.
travel. I have good tips for getting around easily.
I was supposed to plan the trip, but I haven't done
Yeah.
anything yet. So.
You get we got a 7-day bullet train pass at the time. It was just 7 days unlimited bullet train.
Yeah.
And just you travel 300 kilometers an hour from city to city.
I've laid so fast, eh?
It's just super efficient.
Wow.
So like you can bounce between like the 5 major cities within a week.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm excited.
That's really cool, dude.
Yeah, so we're gonna shoot content there.
Mhm.
We've shot some stuff already.
Yeah.
He lives in San Francisco, so we bounced out there, shot some stuff in December. So
That's cool.
yeah, but that's kind of like a creative project that we like
Yeah.
ongoing. This is the guy who got me into
Photography?
media in general.
Media,
the
wow.
guy that when I went over and he was doing that.
Oh, he's the high
Photoshop.
school friend.
Yeah, yeah. So
Yeah.
we've always kind of worked together on and off.
That's
So,
awesome.
Like we did some work together too when we were like
Yeah.
in
And then he
late
moved away.
teens.
Like I guess he moved away to San Francisco.
Yeah, he like moved to Toronto, then to San Francisco.
Cool,
Has
man.
a career as like a front end developer.
Yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, so that's like that's the creative project. Instead of doing a small one this time, we're doing like a
going big.
gigantic
Kinda
one.
built
So
up
I've
to
never
that.
done something like this big.
I think it'll be cool.
I don't know where it's gonna go.
So do you find that these creative projects, like now that you're kind of, you've been in your career for a bit and you've done client work for several years now, do you find these creative projects like give you energy to keep doing the client stuff?
I wouldn't say they give you energy, but they allow you to like develop your style.
Okay.
If you jump into something like that big, you're gonna change the way you shoot by the end of it.
Mhm.
You're gonna discover new stuff, things you didn't know before.
Mm-hmm.
The way you like to light something, or
That's cool.
I think that's huge because you can kind of do that on like a 1-day creative, but you're not gonna get very far.
Okay.
If you're shooting over like 20-30 days worth of creative content on the same subject matter, it's going to be really interesting by the end.
And it's fully your idea too, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think I'll probably hate the first images I shot like it's December by the time we're done this book. I'm gonna
Yeah.
like want to reshoot them or something, and he's
Mhm.
gonna be like, "Fuck off, we're publishing it."
You have, but then if you were to show those images to anyone else, they'd be like, "This is amazing."
Yeah. So because he changed like with 6 months or a year, I feel like I've always evolved the way, especially like the way I like to light things.
Yeah.
And style them. It just changes completely. I look
Mhm.
back like 5 years ago till now, I'm like laughing my head off. They're still
Yeah.
good. They're just different, right? And
Yeah.
Yeah.
Does it change? It changes as you change, and as your like perception of life and the world changes. Do you find that like the way you express your creative work changes?
I don't know. Not sure.
Yeah, that's okay. Like as you
Good
evolve
question.
as a person and start to acquire more knowledge and experience, like you start to, do you find you start to kind of change and express yourself differently?
Maybe. I feel like I almost separate those
Okay.
in my mind. It's weird. Like I have like personal life and then there's like creative life, and I kind of
You don't see ties between the two, like
a little bit,
Mhm.
but not a ton. No.
interesting.
Yeah.
That's
Maybe because I've just been doing it for a while.
yeah.
And like, not that I treat it like a job, but it kind of feels like it a little bit.
Okay,
So
that's cool, man.
there probably is stuff if you look through it. But
Yeah, if you
I-
really dig deep and reflect on it.
I can't think of anything. Though.
No, that's all good.
Yeah. Good question. Though.
Thank you.
I'll get back to you.
Text me in like a week. Hey man, I got an answer.
I fucking figured it out.
We'll record an answer and just like send it in on your phone. Nick, what are some of the biggest challenges of the type of work that you do, or whether it's just about shooting food or just in general? What are some of the biggest challenges of shooting food?
It's interesting. I'm trying to decide if I go into like detail on like certain shoots, or I mean I can kind of talk about the challenges of
Yeah,
like,
you can use an example.
like
if it
even
helps.
just generally like running the business. I think
Yeah.
that's the most challenging part for
like
me.
operating the business.
Yeah, operating a business. So
Mm-hmm.
like how do you get clients? How do you maintain clients?
Yeah.
How do you do your taxes and bookkeep?
Yeah.
I think that's the plane going overhead. You can hear that in here, right?
Yeah, I saw a huge plane fly
Yeah.
over earlier. It's pretty cool.
Yeah, that's something you'd have to get used to if you shot
Yeah,
here.
That's fine. I can live with it.
I don't think a lot of people talk about the business side of photography or
No.
video. I
Yeah.
think that's somewhere where people who are more established can help people out.
Mm-hmm.
a lot more. Like I find it, not that it's challenging to get clients, but it's always, you always have to hustle. Like you're never like gonna just be like, I made it, you know?
Yeah.
There's that feeling. You think you're like,
You have
like,
moments where you're like, I'm good.
oh man, that was crazy, you know? And you're like always striving for that, but like,
Yeah.
I feel like you'll never, you know, be satisfied that
Mm-hmm.
you got there. But like, yeah, I don't know.
It is.
I think it's like the biggest challenge is the business side though.
Okay.
And I've ran businesses before, so I think that really
Mhm.
helped, you know,
To understand it all.
when I got into photography. But
Yeah.
you know, how do you quote somebody?
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. What do you value yourself?
When
I
you're-
find the business side it takes a lot of time. Like it's almost equal parts business as it is creative for me, at least in the realm that I'm in.
Yeah.
So
And like how much time do you dedicate to like,
yeah.
you know, emails and
Yeah.
logistics with clients? Is it worth it? You know what I mean? How do you
Mhm.
factor that into your, you know, your cost and stuff like that? So
Yeah.
I've always tried to share like general pricing in the way I quote with people if they've asked me,
Mhm.
like other photographers.
Yeah.
You know, some people might not want to share that stuff, but like,
I think
how
it
else-
helps everybody.
Yeah, I also don't want them like, you know, charging less than they're worth. So
Because if
Yeah.
they come in and they undercut and then they devalue you and themselves.
yeah, I mean, everyone undercuts the people above them,
For sure.
you know, at a
at
certain
first,
point,
yeah.
you know, and then they realize they can make some more money. And
Yeah.
maybe we should stop undercutting everybody. and-
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
For me, it was like I wouldn't undercut, but I would charge little because I was like, I don't know what I'm worth. And then as time got on and I started working with crews and renting gear, I was like, man, I actually need to charge more because we need the stuff.
Yeah.
And I can't afford like hotels and transport and crews and gear and food for you know, a weekend away of shooting like
Yeah.
without a bigger budget. So
Yeah. Yeah, those production costs. At least those are like concrete costs, right?
For sure, yeah.
Like trying to determine like your creative day fee and like a licensing fee. Like you're still kind of just,
winging it.
you're kind of winging it. You sort of know what the
Mhm.
industry standard is, and you know, I don't know, your fees are what people are willing to pay you. I guess.
Yeah.
So
It's pretty flexible.
it's wild. Yeah. And it is too, right? You know, I work with small clients in Ottawa and
Yeah.
like larger clients, and I'm not charging the exact same,
No.
especially on the licensing side. Like,
Yeah.
yeah,
I
it's
think
not fair.
it depends on the relationship too, right? If they
Yeah.
if you want a long-term relationship, then it's like, sure, we'll do it a bit less. But so you mentioned licensing. Do you actually, so you'll shoot the photos and then you own the rights to the photos?
Yeah,
still?
for most of the jobs, yeah. There's
Okay.
a couple clients who do like copyright buyouts.
So they have to pay a fee,
To
like a
own the
yearly
photo.
fee or something?
So
or-
if they buy the photo, they own it.
Okay.
But that's more expensive.
Of course, yeah.
Versus licensing it for 1 year, 5 years, or like a perpetual license where
Wow,
I still own it, but they use it indefinitely. So
that's cool.
yeah, that's a sketchy area in photography.
Licensing
Not sketchy.
photos?
It's like it's just very muddy, right? It's tough to.
Yeah.
There's like guides on how much you should charge, but it's
Mhm.
to me it depends on the actual image.
Okay.
If I shoot an image on a white background, is it really worth that much? Maybe not, right?
No.
If I shoot something that's really my style, it's worth more. That photo gets licensed for more money
Okay.
because less people can accomplish that. So
So then you're giving them permission to use it and sell their products
Yeah.
with these photos.
exactly.
And then once the license is out, it's either a reshoot or a renew on the license.
Yeah, they can renew it for like
That's
a
cool,
discounted
man.
rate. But with food, it changes, right?
Okay.
You know, no one's going to use it for more than a year probably.
Because the menu, the themes
Yeah.
change and
They're
everything
gone, yeah.
changes.
They're always tweaking everything.
Mhm.
It's a larger company. Everyone, even small, like restaurants or smaller like bakeries, they're always changing their products, right? So
That's a cool way for photographers. I guess that's how you sustain this long term is through the licensing. And
Yeah,
I don't think
some
I've
of
ever
it.
licensed an image in my life.
well, you should be. At least just charge for it. Put like a small
Yeah, like a licensing fee.
yeah,
That's
like
good to know.
our quotes will have like a creative fee. So this is what it costs to have me for the day.
Okay.
And that that includes some pre-production, creative development,
Yeah.
stuff like that. And then licensing per image, and
Okay.
yeah, then the rest is mostly like set costs, right?
Yeah.
Like production costs.
And like a little contract or something about
Yeah.
the image.
Yeah, there's
Yeah.
a little licensing like
Okay.
document in there.
That's cool, man. Nick, when you find yourself in situations where you're like in a creative block and you don't have the energy, like what do you do?
I honestly try to do nothing. Like just not even go play some sports or do something really fun and mindless, I guess. So
Just take yourself away from it completely.
it's hard to I find it's hard to really sit down and be like, I just need to focus on like coming up with an idea for something.
Okay.
Once you've already started the process, like early on, it's easy. Like look for reference images, brainstorm, look through the stuff that your client's given you. But when you're like trying to nail down that exact creative, I feel like it's just gonna come to you.
Yeah.
You know, I give myself I'm hoping like at least a week. Sometimes people come to you, clients will come to you like we need to shoot in 8 days. You're like, okay, shit, like I'm gonna have to double time
moving.
this. Yeah.
Yeah.
To me, though, is like a moment where I just like I see it. I'm like, that's what the image is gonna look like. I got it. And
Yeah.
it's sometimes it happens right away. Sometimes it takes forever. It
Okay.
just gets worse and worse the longer it goes, and I can't figure it out. So,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Nice, man.
So I've always visualized them. I don't know, but yeah.
Yeah, it's good. It's good to kind of like take yourself away from it
Yeah.
and just regenerate.
I mean, you run your own business, right? You're always kind of thinking about it.
Mm-hmm.
You're never off, right?
No.
It's like you go to work, you go home, you're like, I'm not going to think about this till tomorrow. Like, it'll be like 2 a.m. and I'm just like, oh, shit. Like,
Laying in bed at night.
yeah, I'm like, I need to
Idea.
like write this down or make like
Yeah.
a voice note or, something just enough to remember,
Yeah.
to like jog that memory again tomorrow.
Exactly.
So, yeah.
Nice.
Which it gets tough when you have like multiple jobs going on at once. Like trying to,
You're laying in
split
bed,
that time,
not sleeping anymore.
Yeah. Because you can put all this time into it and get nowhere too.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
That's where I feel like if you're putting all this time and going nowhere, then you may need to reconsider what you're doing, right? Like
Yeah.
if you're not actually moving. So Nick, here's a little bit of a fun question. If you could do anything without limitations, what would you do? Personal or creative or professional?
Right now, it'd probably be just traveling a ton.
Nice.
Yeah. Live somewhere warm.
Yeah.
Try and learn to surf a little better. I've done it a
Nice.
couple times. Complete shit. But
That'd be cool.
it'd be cool to like live, kind of nomadically, but also run this business, which might be tough to do at the same time. But
Yeah. It wouldn't be as stable necessarily
No.
financially.
So
It
we
could
do
be,
we do like travel a decent
Mhm.
amount, myself and Jen, but it's not like we're gone 6 months of the year or something
Okay.
like that. So yeah, I like working though. I enjoy doing this. So.
Yeah, I mean that's clearly what's taken you to this point. If you didn't like
Yeah.
it, I don't think you would
Yeah.
be where you are right now.
Yeah.
That's cool, man.
Yeah, I think
So-
I thought about this a lot. My like biggest fear is having to get a job again. Like I think about this all the time. Like I gotta just like
Like if you can't sustain,
yeah. Like
Your
if for
life.
some reason I can't sustain this business, I have to go work somewhere again.
Yeah.
I'd be devastated. So
downside. I don't think I can do it
yeah,
personally. I think about that too because I went to school. I have a university degree and I never worked a day in my field.
yeah,
And it's like I just traveled a bit after school and then dove into, trying this out full time. And it's been officially 2 years full time, and it seems to be working.
If you're
And
still
I-
doing it, then yeah,
I can't even imagine if it's not this business, it's another business. If it's
yeah,
if it's not this something else, yeah, I can't go back to. I moved too quickly and like my brain is like hyperactive and
Yeah.
I can't just remain the same like year after year. I'm always like I'm focused on other things and like learning how to adapt. And the world moves so quickly.
Oh yeah, I think you were saying earlier, this is a third podcast you've tried or something.
This is the third podcast
Yeah,
I've attempted.
but like you're still doing it, right? Like the
Yeah.
first two didn't work out. Like fuck it, like let's.
Yeah, keep trying,
Yeah.
keep trying. And like I've always been a stubborn person where like to the point where it's sometimes at my detriment, but I don't want to give up on something until it either completely fails
Yeah,
or it works. And
Yeah.
it usually works when you keep trying.
yeah, for sure. I'm like thinking about all this stuff I've tried like,
Yeah.
over the years, like having a painting business.
Yeah, man.
Me and my buddy aerated dethatched lawns. We like
Nice.
bought one when that's actually the first business I ever had.
Mm-hmm.
We just did it like cash only when we were like 18 or 19. Like
That's cool, man.
it was like cool, like the feeling of like, oh, I like convinced someone to pay me for a service was like a neat feeling, And then I actually ended up doing that in a creative field, which is
That's cool.
hilarious.
What
to
I
me.
love,
It's arts and crafts.
it is
It's arts and crafts, man.
It's like what you're doing now is digital arts and crafts
Yeah.
almost. The crafts are the styling and the arts is the
Yeah.
photos. I think it's awesome. And what I love most about the creative space with like digital and photos and videos is you get to kind of combine the entrepreneurial, approach to things where you're buying and selling and you're selling stuff and you're navigating clients and communicating with people, and you get to bring in this like whole other level of technical stuff to it. And like the digital realm is just so vast and so advanced, and it's changing so quickly too. And that's what I love about it, because you combining all those like little practical skills that you might have learned from your painting business or from your earlier businesses. And then for me, I used to buy and sell things. I used to buy cheap lawnmowers or find snowblowers on the side of the road or
Yeah.
little motorbikes with engines. and like fix them up, order parts off eBay, flip them. And then it eventually graduated to doing that with actual cars and parts for cars, getting rare car parts from other places, and then just like scouring the internet, and then cleaning them up, painting them, and then selling them. And I love the transacting, and then that mixed with digital was just an explosion of ideas. And it's cool because it's led me here to this exact conversation.
Yeah, now I see why you were shooting that 2 years of at racetracks, like documentary with cars.
Yeah.
Like you kind of started with that.
I started with
Like,
photos of cars. I wanted wallpapers.
Because you were into it already.
I wanted wallpapers for my phone and my computer. And I was like always on Google, like searching up these wallpapers, and I'm like, I could take photos like this. I'm going to make my own. So I borrowed a camera body from my friend, and I borrowed a lens from my other friend. And then I just put those together, and I started shooting photos, and I was like, cool. And then it eventually graduated to videos after seeing some, like, people, honestly, Jared Galley is one of the first early people to like inspire me. Like, holy crap. Like, you have that feeling when you watch a video. It's like, oh my God, I can actually feel something, because it's not just visual, it's an audio experience, and it's cool. And then it just not spiraled. I think it went up. It's not a downhill spiral. No, it's uphill spiral. And then,
it's definitely a spiral still.
It's a spiral in 50 different directions. I'm still exploring. I still don't, like, I have my niche with my client work, but I'm still exploring, like, you know, other realms. And podcasting is actually one of those realms of exploring. It's a cool format. I'm drawn to this format. I know you mentioned you don't love the sound of your own voice.
I don't mind it right now.
It's cool.
I'm used to it after half hour or whatever.
Yeah. Like, I think imagine everyone just sat down for a conversation with a microphone, and like, it makes me talk more, I find. Yeah. Hearing that feedback, because you're like, oh, I sound kind of important and cool, I guess. Oh man. Nick, I wanted to ask you, how has kind of, you know, the digital space and social media and the modern tools we have available, how has that technology impacted photography for you?
Any specific tools, or just sort of
like the way, like the access to softwares and the access to how easily you can get really good cameras, and the way
I think like earlier on, like having access to like tutorials online was like a huge thing, right? Yeah. I didn't go to school really. Like I tried, didn't work out too well, right? But like there was so, like, you can teach yourself anything. Yeah. Even when I was younger, you could, but like there was like an end to Google. Like you could like not find your answer. When I first started, like
it's 3 pages of a search.
Yeah, I'm thinking back like to like 2000 or something, and I was like looking up some like how to like parse some like variable through like an HTML link for a Flash website I was working on or something. And yeah. And I couldn't find the answer to it. It's like, oh, I like got to the end of the internet, like shit, you know? Yeah. Now you can literally find anyone who's had the same problem or issue.
There's a video.
If you're problem solving, right? Mm-hmm. Or like learning new techniques, you know? Like the way I light right now, I saw some guy, I can't remember his name, from Toronto. Okay. I'll try and think of it after. Yeah, no problem. Put it in the notes because it's really cool. He's a DP in Toronto. Okay. So he lights with, I don't know if this will work really well in a podcast, but he'll have like an ambient giant fill, let's say, coming from camera left. Mm-hmm. So I'll use like a continuous light there, really soft light that's just filling the set, creating soft shadows. Then he will put a spotlight next to his camera, aiming across the set.
Interesting.
Like parallel to that light, so not interfering with the set. And then use mirrors to bounce light into the set.
That's crazy.
And he'll have like a variety of different mirrors, different like frostings on them. There's actually like a company that makes these. They're mostly in like motion work, but it works really well for photography. And I like watched that. I was like, that's it. That's the way to light. You know, I want, you know, a little bit extra light on this one almond at the front of the, no problem. And you just move this light around. Like,
so instead of pointing the light directly at.
Yeah, it's going by the set, not interfering. And then you're bouncing all these.
That's cool.
Yeah. There's one, I think there's a post on Instagram that I've done recently, the last 2 or 3, that kind of show the behind the scenes, but I was like, that's a whole new way to control light. It just blew me away. I'm like, that's now the, you know, the baseline of how I'm going to light things. We still combine other.
Just bouncing it off
mirrors. Yeah, and different, like, so you have like a frosted mirror, like a non-frosted mirror, like 50% frosted, like different, you know, so you have a harsher, less harsh lights, and it creates like, the harsh ones create like almost like light beams, right? and then we'd beam those onto set and then like interfere with those beams with like other glasses and other flags to even disperse them even more.
That's
It's
so
just we're on set and we're like laughing our heads off, like creating this light, you know, it just
because it looks. What is the difference though of just pointing the light at the almond or bouncing it off a
well,
mirror?
we're talking about like 3 or 4 mirrors.
Oh,
So
okay.
like one light's hitting this back, so you can like hit every little spot on your set with different qualities of light, even
okay.
different colors, and then
Wow.
you could also interfere with that light as it hits your set.
That's crazy.
And then we'll do, we'll have like mirrors on the opposite side bouncing some of that light back in and lots of flags. So you look at the sets, they look like if you like sneezed on them, they would just collapse. It's just shit everywhere. But then you look at the photo, you're like, that looks legitimately like it's outside. It's like 8
That's
p.m.
so
at
cool,
night
dude.
and the sun just set and there's like an orange light in the background.
Wow.
But like from, I learned that like, I was last year at some point.
Yeah.
And it just blew me away. I was like, that's insane light control, right?
Yeah.
If someone says, I want a little more light on this, like, no problem,
Yeah.
no problem at all.
Bring in the mirrors.
Yeah. And, it's good practice to light things properly instead of compositing them. Because I do a little bit more motion. And like the goal is to do more food motion work in the next couple of years.
When you say motion, you mean
Like
just
video.
like video?
Yeah. And if you're not lighting things really well in camera, in motion, that's a lot of work.
Yeah, you
later,
can't flash stuff and
Yeah. So
layer the shadows and the
yeah.
highlights the same.
But that's like, that's today's technology, really. Just YouTube just blew me away and like put me on a new path. I hadn't changed the way I lit for a couple of years. Like tweaked it a little bit, but this is like, okay.
And you're still doing that to this day?
Yeah. I mean, it depends on the shoot.
Okay.
Some of them are like more simple,
But
they don't need it. But if it's that, we almost always set it up just to have it as an option. So
That's really cool.
yeah.
Nice. Do you take inspiration from DPs and like people in the film industry?
Yeah. Generally, like just looking at
Is
some
it
of their
similar
work.
techniques?
I think they're the same. I'm lighting like I'm shooting like motion video
Yeah.
sets now. That's kind of
cool.
the way. Also, you can technically like just shoot both on one set.
Yeah.
If you're lighting a continuous light, you got to make a few tweaks, but you can do it.
Yeah. You're
Which is
using
like-
lights like this, like that we're using right now.
I use all continuous lights for
Yeah.
like anything that's not like a menu board or something that needs like crazy depth of field, like
Okay.
F9 or like stacked images that
Yeah.
need to be sharp from front to back. Basically any like kind of still life set, it's all continuous light now.
That's awesome, man.
Yeah.
That's
It's
really
also,
cool.
you can see everything as you're doing it, right?
See,
Your ratios are all proper, right? So like with strobes, you're like, if you're trying to get a light in a specific little spot,
Yeah.
you can use like the modeling lamp on it, but the actual amount might not be exactly right. So you can visually just see that this is going to work.
Yeah,
the light
it's-
is exactly where I want it as you're maneuvering something, and then just change the output of that light. And
That's awesome.
yeah, so there's an efficiency like crazy, because I think clients expect more out of you than they did like 5 years ago.
Yeah.
Like you used to shoot like 4 images in a day. They'd be like, great, we're done. Now, like 10,
40.
yeah, or like 10 images on 4 sets and like video content for each one of them. So
Wow.
having continuous light, is a huge
Yeah.
advantage, I think. So
Saves
yeah.
a bit of time. That's cool, Nick. It's good. It's really interesting to hear about your journey through photography, kind of how you got there, and hear about how you approach the food photography, because it's something that is not. I don't feel like people don't consider when they look at an image of food. They're not thinking about it. They're just like, I'm going to eat that.
Yeah.
But there's so much to it.
Yeah.
So much that goes into it.
It's hilarious.
Yeah.
We'll see some of the images sometimes. Like I'll walk by, I'm like, oh, there's one of those photos. I'm like, oh, that one was like, that was a war, to get it to that point. Or
Or do you see other people's images and like kind of take inspiration and critique them and be like, interesting how they do that, or that's shit, or whatever? Like,
oh yeah, 100%.
Yeah.
Like that's great. That's not good.
if you're
Or-
eating at a restaurant, hey, do you guys need a photographer? Start selling your services while eating. That's fine. You know those cheesy. I saw like this freaking Burger King commercial or something on TV. It looked like they shot it in the living room. It's just white backdrop, like low resolution, like just a burger like moving around.
Yeah,
They could use some
it
help.
sucks. I just analyze every food or product shot now.
Yeah,
Yeah, it's fine. Like it's good, but
it's cool though.
yeah, it is pretty funny.
I imagine it's similar. Like if I look at like a scene in the film, I try to like think about, okay, where's the light coming from? How did they light this? How did they?
Yeah.
what did they use, and
Yeah.
where's the like what kind of lights did they use? Imagine you'd think the same when you're looking
Yeah,
at food.
I'm always like, where's that, where's the main direction of that light,
Mhm.
or looking for like little reflections on stuff to like, like you would look for like a catch light in an eye. To,
Yeah,
like, see
yeah.
where
I've
the
actually
lights
looked
are,
at like products closely to see that.
Yeah, like how are they doing that?
Yeah.
So I mean, a lot of them are composited.
Okay.
So like they get rid of them, or
Yeah.
you don't see those reflections. But
That's cool, man.
yeah, I'm always studying it, and sometimes something will come along. You're like, that is wild. How do they do that? Or as if they're going in that direction with food. So it's neat to see like the style of everything change too.
Yeah.
Over time.
I think it's going to continue to change as
Oh
well.
yeah, 100%.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's are you does that excite you? Do you like to be able to adapt and evolve as things change?
Yeah, I think it's cool. Like, it's kind of neat because you like establish a style. You're like, this is kind of how I do things. Like I used to do a lot of those like shots, like the burger exploding or like
Yeah.
the bread, and like more people are doing that stuff now. When I did it, it was like fairly uncommon. Like I got jobs just because of that burger shot.
Wow.
Like big jobs. They're like, oh, we love that shot. We're gonna hire you for something that has nothing to do with that, but you did that.
Yeah.
I was like, oh, what the fuck? Like,
Cool.
cool. I'll do it. Like, no problem.
Yeah.
But I feel like I need to like, I don't want to like, you don't want to get stuck as like someone who just does that, right? So
Got to branch out.
yeah, and I
That's
think a lot
important.
of it is like propping and lighting and
Mm-hmm.
all that fun stuff. So.
Yeah. That's a good takeaway to take. Like I love what you said about the creative work and how like a lot of your portfolio is just creative projects that
Yeah.
you did on your own dime, on your own
And it
time
still
and
is
effort.
too. If you like look through it.
Yeah,
It's,
but that we would a person looking wouldn't know, but it's cool because it's it adds a lot of value to your work and your brand and your image, and I think I'm gonna have to take you on that advice and do more creative stuff, because I got lost in like a lot of the client stuff over the last year, I would say,
yeah.
and strayed away a little bit from just going and just making videos for the passion of it. So.
Yeah, you almost lose that. You don't lose the fun, but you do a bunch of client projects. You sort of like, if it starts to feel like a job a little bit, like go back and do some creatives, because you want that like fun and energy brought to your like client projects, because that's why they hire you, right?
Absolutely.
So I find like I can get stuck like trying to make exactly what they want too
Okay.
often, where I like should be like, no, they're hiring you to make something cool still.
Yeah.
Like do what they want, but you really got to have your special sauce on that, or whatever
Yeah, I
you
agree.
want to call it. So yeah, it's good to go back. It's like working out,
Yeah.
or reading, or not that I read a lot, but like yeah. I think this too, I've always found this with like, I helped Jen a lot early on too, and to me like the order of like your portfolio and like how you lay out your portfolio and like which images come first in it is, I feel like people don't put enough like effort into that. Someone will go to your site and they might be on there for like 10 seconds. Like I know everyone kind of generally knows this, but like really put those like images you want to shoot as the first images on your website.
Yeah.
And like sprinkle in like a brand name or like a client that you shot in there. Just, I feel I've gone to sites, I'm like, oh, this person has good work, but it's like, I have to scroll through like a ton of stuff to find this work.
Where's
like
the
that
stuff?
should be front and center.
Yeah.
Like that exploding burger shot was like, that got me jobs for years, one image.
Wow.
So like I didn't have that 25th in my portfolio. It was like the first or second shot.
Yeah.
Right? So
That's good. That's good advice, honestly.
yeah.
For myself as well, for my portfolio, I always redevelop every year. I go back and I revamp everything, but
There's like certain things you'll have that'll just catch
Yeah.
people's eye, and
I'll
you
keep
probably
that
know
in
what they
mind.
are generally,
Yeah.
because people will like mention them to you a lot, or clients will mention them, or
yeah.
when you ask them, which when you're building a creative, which shots did you love the best out of mine? There'll be a few that always come up all the time, even if they didn't want it specifically for like their that shoot, it'll still come out there. So
Nice.
just keep track of that and
Good to know. That's great advice.
pin those to the top of your Instagram, whatever you gotta do.
Yeah, no, that's great advice, because it's just so many things, right?
Yeah.
Nick, I think we'll kind of bring it to a close here. Do you have any upcoming projects that you're looking forward to, or is it a secret?
Yeah, this whiskey book I think is
That's the one.
yeah. I'm
Nice.
pumped for it.
Yeah, I can't wait. So I'll put all of Nick's information in the description box below. You can check out his website, see some of his work, and just you're probably going to get hungry when you go there, or thirsty. So I'll put all that below. I'll put your Instagram and the studio. Thank you for letting us use the studio.
Yeah, my pleasure.
And for those of you watching or listening, we may be shooting more episodes here coming soon. And if you'd like to be on The Creatives, please drop us a line. You can message us on Instagram. You can email us at TheCreatives. You can join the Discord community, all linked in the description below. We'd love to chat, even if you want to submit questions for future guests and you want those answered. Please do that. I want the Creatives to be like an open line. I want people to be a part of it, even without necessarily being a guest. So that's the goal here. I would like to thank Panoramas Media for sponsoring this episode and this podcast, and also my editor, Ryan. Thank you, Ryan, for all the work that you do in editing the show. Nick, thank you, man.
Yeah.
It's been a pleasure. I really appreciate your time.
That was a lot of fun. I could have gone for like 3 hours with you.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah.
We can keep going.
No, it's fine.
We'll save it. We'll bring you back. I want to have guests to come back after time. And
if you start shooting here more often, someone
Yeah.
cancels on you, just knock on the door.
yeah,
and all.
just pop in. I think
Yeah.
there's going to be potential for even like some quicker format versions of these conversations.
For sure.
To just take a bit less time and stuff. But I appreciate your time, Nick. I wish you luck in everything you do. I look forward to watching you develop and continue growing, and
Thanks, man.
hope
Me
to be
too.
a part
On your end.
of part of it in some way, shape, or form. But thank you for watching. Thank you for listening, and we'll see you on the next episode.